I said I wasn't going to talk about Mortal Kombat 1 unless something really good happened that I myself would be like, yo, good job NRS, good job Warner Bros. Or whoever needs to get the praise. Unfortunately, that has yet to happen. I thought that would happen with Peacemaker's introduction, with the new season. I thought that finally this crossplay was going to be great. It was going to be something that finally we could say, yo, MK1 deserves some praise here. And they did kind of cook, with Peacemaker. I think a lot of people have problems with Peacemaker, but overall people enjoy the character. Now, the main issue was the implementation of crossplay still having weird limitations. So for example, the King of the Hill was not in the update. Perhaps it's further down the road, but I believe it should have been something that was supposed to just be launched as a holistic product and crossplay. But I'm not here to bash MK1. A matter of fact, I'm not even here to praise MK1. I'm just thinking right about now, there's a lot of malicious content around MK1 and overall discussions that are not fruitful or won't even help the game. I don't even believe some people are even talking about MK1 because they care. They simply just want to talk because that gets them the views, it generates the buzz. You know how negativity sells. But right about now, we've got to talk about the most recent upheaval on socials about MK1, and that is around EVO. Now, the biggest fighting game tournament of the year has released some early bird registration numbers. Well, not even numbers, rather numbers in terms of who has the most participants so far. And to the surprise of some, not to the surprise of me, understanding something that is called history, Mortal Kombat 1 places in at 7th, right above the King of Fighters 15. Now, KOF is really a good bracket. As a matter of fact, let me tell y'all something. If you got to tune into EVO and you could only see like a couple games, well, make sure to look at King of Fighters. Make sure to look at Third Strike, and I do think On the Night in Birth is going to have some epic sets, some epic matches. I mean, everybody else will have epic sets and epic matches, trust and believe, but those three in particular, those are the games that I'm gonna be looking at the most, especially Third Strike making its resurgence in EVO. But right, so the big discussion right about now is that Mortal Kombat 1, you know this game is dead believers, these people that come out and say Mortal Kombat 1 is dead because XYZ is not happening here and this is the reason why. They just got more fuel to their fire by seeing Mortal Kombat 1 in 7th position. Now, albeit this could be a better position. One, I'm saying this because this is a new game. It's a relatively fresh game on the market, and I don't think 7th place is really a good look for it. However, this is still early bird registration and we don't even have the official numbers yet, so there could be some shifts along the way. I'm not sure if it may take over Third Strike, but I could possibly see it go above On the Night in Birth. It's kind of concerning that Uni is already this higher than Mortal Kombat 1, but it's a case where Uni is very niche and anybody who's actually playing Uni is most likely going to try to approach it from a competitive perspective. Now, the reason why this did not shock me is because if we look at the year of 2023, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate just last year was at 8th place, 449 participants, and we've had some historic numbers coming from Street Fighter 6, Guilty Gear Strive. Guilty Gear is currently in 3rd in terms of early registration, and I'm pretty sure, maybe, perhaps, I'm hoping GGST could have even higher numbers than last year. So Mortal Kombat 11 down at 8th doesn't seem that strange when we put it into perspective, but let's work our way up through the years. So before we even get back to the 22s and everything like that, let's go all the way back to 2012, where we can see Mortal Kombat 9 was in 6th position at just 304 participants. EVO 2013, we're looking at Mortal Kombat 9 again in, well, 9th place now, even less players than before. EVO 2014, Mortal Kombat is not even present because we now have another NRS game switched out in place of it in Injustice Gods Among Us. Now we get to an interesting year, 2015, Mortal Kombat X releases. This is possibly Mortal Kombat's best performance, one of the best performance. Now X is relatively held in a high regard as being one of the better Mortal Kombat games, especially from the modern era, but it's also a case where Mortal Kombat X was out here doing those numbers, especially in its premiere year. Now we go to 2016. It's dropped. It's now in 7th place actually at 713 participants. So I also want you to notice that even in its launch year, Mortal Kombat was not able to break into the top 3. Now it's competing with some games that it has outsold. It has done a league of numbers above, but for some strange reason, MK1's position is still a shock to many. And this is why I think it's a very disingenuous conversation that we're having around Mortal Kombat 1. And of course, 2017, Injustice 2. So we switch out Mortal Kombat. Again, it is not available. We don't have numbers for Mortal Kombat 11, obviously in 2018, because it did not yet launch. But in 2019, Mortal Kombat 11's position makes its way at 1,567 participants. That is the best performing number. That is in 2019, the premiere year of Mortal Kombat. Now, obviously, COVID-19 occurred. We did not have 2020 Evo, and 2021 was online. We've got MK11, 714. So you can see that clearly. The reason why I'm saying that this is a disingenuous conversation is because obviously the conversation around MK1 is, look, it's a dead game, because even from the perspective of this game sells well, this is how much people care to compete in it. No, it is clear that Mortal Kombat is not a franchise that lives, nor does it die by its competitive audience. It clearly is a much bigger IP. It's a multimedia franchise that is expanding in ways that, unfortunately, for people like me who are much more interested in a competitive side of the game, are unable to see, because NRS is possibly not really interested, or Warner Bros. Is not interested. I've even seen a comment online that Warner Bros. Would much prefer if the competitive scene of Mortal Kombat dies, because they think that the FGC is just a bunch of weirdos and things. That's something that could be argued. That is something that could be argued. I don't know what is really their source on it, but I repeated it because it's an interesting perspective, especially if it's actually a perspective that was just formed internally from the FGC, and now they're projecting that the reason why Mortal Kombat doesn't have this is because higher up see us as weirdos, but that is what they expressed, you know. Now we're looking at 2022 MK11 464. So I'm looking at, not only does Mortal Kombat seem to medal out at a very low amount of interested competitive players, it always maintains a low amount of participants. Now the question is, how or should NRS go about making Mortal Kombat, the fighting game franchise, no longer focusing on the other multimedia aspirations that they have? We're talking about Mortal Kombat 1. Do they now need to go about reassessing or readjusting the way that they approach this game from a competitive perspective, when time and time has proven that the success that they're chasing is clearly in the sales, it's clearly in the numbers, it's clearly in the way that they want to still express the game, despite many of these fighting games almost having their community's desire a sort of esport prestige to actually occur. Now, what does this mean? Mortal Kombat 1, or well, Mortal Kombat on a whole, is not as advertiser friendly. Now, we could possibly get away with it within our community spaces, within community organized tournaments, within community organized events, and of course Warner Brothers and whoever NRS organizes these events. Then we can have cases where, look, we don't care about these advertisers, we don't care about this or certain way, or the people who advertise with us know exactly what we're about. But taking it a step further, probably going into that, as I said, that esports, the desire that we've been seeing kind of come up as a popular desire among some participants of the FGC. I don't think it is easily going to be applied to MK without MK losing a critical and crucial part of its identity, which is the blood, the gore, the decapitations, the brutalities, the fatalities. These things will disappear from MK1 for what, a few more dollars? I don't think it's worth it. But it's also a case where, is it possible that, as we already have established, that it's technically a safe space, there's an area where people could come to play this game as it is. It can be fostered within the community. It's a safe space for people who know exactly what MK1 is about. Is it possible for them to increase that competitive desire amongst their buyers, amongst the people who actually take part in it? But I think one of the biggest issues that Mortal Kombat has or faces, and a reason why it can't really grow from a competitive perspective, is one, it's really and truly just surrounded by better competitive products. It's really and truly outgunned by companies who are actually interested in seeing that aspect of their fighting game grow. And it's not a bad thing. It's simply not their interest. Their interests do not lie in MK1 as a competitive product. It's more so competing for sales, and which fighting game has record sales and overall tends to make a profit more than it becomes profitable for a competitive scene. However, we do have to acknowledge that they did increase their prize pool over the time for the pro competition. So there may be a case where they have to possibly be reconsidering their approach. In fact, another aspect of why Mortal Kombat doesn't possibly go this longer in terms of a competitive perspective is because of how easily they want to switch and make another game. Does an Injustice game come out, get that priority in terms of support, and put the Mortal Kombat game on life support? Does that happen? Will this happen with this cycle? There's a case where it was going to be supported much longer, but there's a lot of conversations happening in terms of meetings that we're hearing out of Warner Bros. In terms of how they want to approach, how they handle their different IPs, and what type of service they're looking to give to the consumers in terms of gaming. But guys, let me know what you guys think below in the comment section. I am just really over the negative MK1 discourse. Mind you, I'm not against freedom of speech, because when people express their dissatisfaction, that's how we get turnaround products. That's how we get a better version of Street Fighter 5. That's how Tekken 7 was able to improve over time. You know, there's a case where there's feedback that definitely needs to come across, but it's also a case where there's a lot of muddled conversation happening within the community that I just don't believe is really and truly for the interest of Mortal Kombat. You know, but I will see you all in a next video. But until then, stay gaming.